Anyway.
Just want to say that I think, I've been asking myself this question a lot this year specifically about this year and last year, I think, about old books that have stood the test of time, like your Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes series.
My God.
Or who's this guy, man? There's this guy who wrote The Invisible Man, and he wrote what is the time travel
he did War of the Worlds as well. I had this book in the back.
H.G. Wells, I think.
Yes, H.G. Wells, yes.
And then you also have whoever wrote Pride and Prejudice, and you also have the Chronicles of Narnia as well as Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. For me, I mean, you also have Alexander Dumas with the Three Musketeers.
You're forgetting my favorite movie of all time, my favorite book of all time, literally my favorite book of all time. It is the greatest novel. And when she wrote it, not he, she wrote it.
It's over 100 years old?
Yeah, Frankenstein. It is considered the first sci-fi. It is older than H.G. Wells. It is older than H.G. Wells. It is older than Thingamajiggy. She wrote it when she was 18 years old, bro.
What the hell, man?
This movie is, it just goes to show, our generations are in trouble.
This goes back to what I'm trying to say. Like, I often wonder what inspired these people to write such timeless books. I often wonder, and I'm sure even F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby is probably over 100 years old now. But what I'm trying to figure out is, sure, there were no TVs for the most part with these people, but what made them so creative to come up with content that would outlast, like that would...
Theory,
what's the theory? Let's hear it.
Belief. You have to remember something. These were if you look up Mark Twain's life, you're gonna blow your top. That man's life is almost magnificent.
I think in like just before the first chapter, I think, of Tom Sawyer, he does say that some of the Avengers in this book are based on true events, and I actually mixed a few of my friends together as well as my own life in this thing, So yeah.
Mary Shelley was a scholar, a brilliant woman, and heavily Christian. If depending on who you talk to, Frankenstein is a Christian metaphor in terms of it being what's the word? Man trying to create life as the consequence of man trying to create life, trying to play God. Right. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's happening there. That's kind of the message there that she was talking, because she was heavily Christian. What's his face? Oh God. Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. I forgot his name now. Terrible. Heavily Christian man was like.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Exactly.
The lion is like Christ.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do a Christian algorithm. Algorithm. Jesus, it's not AI. Allegory. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. I'm just trying to find his name.
Back.
Oh, C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, yes. And him and Lord of the Rings guy Tolkien were friends.
Yeah, they were telling me about that. I didn't know.
Yeah, and he was a scholar, an intense scholar who loved languages and loved epic tales like Beowulf. And he was like, hey, where's the British one? So he made it himself. He was like, nah, I'll do it. Man already could speak multiple languages, knew how to learn languages, so he did all his research. He basically took his real life research love and then turned that into a book. Like that man. So there was this element of time, number one, and passion, and raw passion. You know what I mean? Nowadays, so much information around us that I think it's almost impossible not to get ahead of your passion with information sometimes, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So now, instead of just telling a great story or having this wealth of knowledge that you can steal from and then telling a great story, what we end up trying to do is just take this information and just pump it into the story. Do you know what I mean? Without like really filtering it and creating a solid action.
That is true. And I think that's why some critics would say things like, what threw them off is someone over explaining, whether it's book critics or film critics, over explaining, I'll say maybe a game of poker.
Mhm.
Like what you're showing me that you did the research.
Yeah.
But you're not cleverly doing it through the story.
Yeah.
That's why Aaron Sorkin, I think in his masterclass, spoke something very crucial about. I think he has some students, and he spoke about one of the students was doing like a scenario where there's like a what's this thing? A terrorist in the airplane,
Mhm.
and then Aaron Sorkin's criticism of that script that one of the students wrote was, I want to know what the air hostess would say in such a situation to keep everybody calm in the plane. You know, that's the bit of information that you would need to know, but not overdo it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes. For example, yes, you're fantastically right. Tolkien talks about this, where he talks about basically he'll talk about like the what's it called again? The Silmarillion is a massive mega book, right? But the Lord of the Rings is this.
Ah,
You know what I mean? And
right.
that's I try to do that with my own writing. So this will be the book. This will be my research. You will never see this.
Yes.
You will never see this. There
Yes.
will be a sentence said to one character
Yes.
that will be so solid and firm that
Right.
even with you not fully understanding what they mean,
Right.
understand what they mean. You won't understand what they're saying, but you understand what they mean.
I think JK what's
Rowling?
this? Pardon?
Rowling?
Yes, JK Rowling said something to that effect as well. She said it pleases her if she knows that the author of the book knows more about the world
Mm-hmm.
than everybody else, even if that author will never share that piece of information about that world.
Yes.
Which, if you remember, I think there was a point where they were explaining what you need to obtain if you need to be at Harvard. Things like a book called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by such and such a person, which was a movie.
Yes.
But at that time, she knew the book, and I'm sure she knew the content of the book, but it was just a sentence at that moment.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
kind of like there's a nice. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary, The Art of Rap. I think that's a good way of stating this. There's this thing this one rapper says where he says, some rappers they don't write down their raps, and you can tell. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not
I
thinking.
think I did see the documentary talking about. Is this the one that talks about the origins with Africa Bombata and Cool Herc and all those guys? Is it the one you're talking about?
Sure, I don't know. It's got
Wow.
Rakim, it's got Eminem, it's got
I think that's the one that came out recently, isn't it?
maybe a few years ago, but yes, Ice Cube was no, sorry, no, Ice T's baby. He's the one who goes around talking to people. If you haven't seen it,
No,
it
no.
is honest to God fantastic.
Okay.
They talk about Redman talks to him, Method Man talks to him, Eminem talks to him. A lot of the rappers starting from Run DMC talks to him. So you get to talk from like the 60s all the way to present day. It is fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
but the point is, you can tell when someone hasn't done their homework, when they're just freestyling. And sometimes I feel like a lot of these modern stuff, in order to keep up with the times, they're just freestyling.
Right. Right.
I think, yeah.
Unless if you're like, which you couldn't really say it's freestyling. You could say part of it is freestyling, but it's not really freestyling. Someone like Tarantino,
Oh
who
yeah.
just takes bits and pieces of other movies and combines them. But he is very
Space,
knowledgeable.
yes. Space is incredible.
Yes.
So if anything, he is the big thing, and the movie is this small thing that he's taking. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a risky thing, though. You have to remember that's risky. Do you know what I mean? Like he's probably watched thousands of movies. None of us.
And more than once.
Exactly. To
Yeah.
the point where you can name actors off by heart that we who?
That you've never heard of, bro.
Yeah.
Like he's like a walking encyclopedia of
Yes.
film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a consequence, his 8 films, or 9 now, I think, have
Yeah.
changed the world as we know it.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.